welcome everybody. I am a guest for your team, the home team, hometown team. And Sheena has given me the pleasure and the authority to share some information with you guys. So first, we want to thank her. And my relationship with her started when I relocated from Baltimore, Maryland to Mooresville. We shared the same EXP sponsor, or right around in that, relationship status. So we met each other on social media. And then when I visited Charlotte or Mooresville before I actually moved here, Sheena and I met up and we talked and we instantly hit it off and knew that we would work together in some type of capacity. We didn't know in the beginning, but some type of capacity. Fast forward, I held an event and I lived in Baltimore or commuted back and forth, and she was my boots on the ground in North Carolina because the event was in North Carolina. I wasn't in North Carolina yet, and I needed some help. I didn't know anybody, so we know her personality and her helpfulness. We know her values, and she's a helper. So she helped me, and I knew that someday I would be returning favors to her over and over and over again. Not that they were required, but because both of us share that personality as well. So a little bit about me. I've had a real estate license since 2020. I went from agent to mentor to BIC, back to coach, back to agent, back to coach. So I dibble and dabble in coaching and closing a deal every so often. And the reason I close the deal every so often is because I get a lot of referrals. People still look at me as the go-to real estate agent. Sometimes they get confused because they like, girl, where are you? What are you doing? What's happening? I need real estate help. So they still call me first because I put that into the atmosphere. So that's a good thing. So literally I can close a transaction this week if I had to. I prefer to work with ladies like you and coach you and help you with your business because I feel like I am good at that. Yes, ma'am.
So when you first joined EXP, you kind of came in and started spending time on revenue share in that first year. Could you maybe explain that you kind of you still sell houses, but you went more into the revenue share side of it?
Yep. So my background is so I was a BIC in Baltimore, basically. So my background was on supervising agents, and I was a non-competing BIC. So that meant I couldn't close transactions also. Okay. So as a BIC, I was more so there to support agents. So that's why EXP was so attractive to me. When Rich Thomasini contacted me and told me to take a look at EXP, it fit right into what I was doing at the time, but it was a backup plan if I didn't want to be an employee of another brokerage. So my whole life revolved around rev share, right? Because when I quit my job, yes, I quit my job and I came to EXP. When I quit my job, I had to replace that income. And I knew that rev share would be able to do that for me if I did that strategically and correctly. So like Sheena said, all things rev share. I didn't even talk about being a real estate agent, even though I was in the background. All I wanted to talk about is agent attraction. All I wanted to do is learn agent attraction. I spent 6 months learning agent attraction and learning all of the EXP systems and onboarding processes. And during that 6 months, 6 to 8 months, I onboarded probably about 40 to 50 agents because I became the expert in that area. Yeah, thank you. So rev share became important to me because I wanted another income. And I'm sure that Sheena and I will talk to you at some point in time. If you're not already into that thing, I'm sure that we will be glad to have that conversation with you. And we'll tell you, just how to have I call it sleep money, Basically, just have some money going into your account every now and again because you like helping people. That's the most important thing. Not just because you want some money, but if you like to help people and you like to refer people to things that are working for you, that's when you do well in agent attraction, or that's when you can do better in agent attraction. I tell people, Sheena, it's just like if you like this shirt I have on, and I tell you, oh, I bought this from the Gap or Old Navy. People still go to the Gap. I don't hear about the Gap often. Old Navy, I think, took over, didn't they?
I don't even know. They have a good online store.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard much. But if I tell you I got this shirt from Old Navy, then you may go to Old Navy and then you buy this shirt, right? But did Old Navy give me any money? No. But eXp, if I tell people I love my eXp business, I love how eXp supports my business. Did y'all hear that? Yeah, eXp supports my business. That's a whole nother story as well. When I tell people that I love the way that eXp supports me, then eXp, and they come to eXp, then eXp gives me some money. So that's the big difference. It's basically referring someone, telling people what you like about whatever, or what you like about the company when we're talking about agent attraction, but being rewarded. So it's like a referral rewards program is how I explain that, Sheena.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So if you want to connect with me, I'm usually online. I'm on Facebook more. I post on TikTok, Instagram. Instagram grew just a little bit over these last couple of weeks, ladies, by the way. But I'm mostly on Facebook, and I'm fun and funny and engaging and helpful on those places. So connect with me. You can go to just Moving with Nakia, NakiaEvans.com, or if you scan that QR code, that is fine. But connect with me, stay connected. We're always hosting events as well, so that's a great way to stay connected. And Sheena?
Aren't you have a YouTube channel, and then you're also going to be doing some CE, teaching some CE?
Yes, I forget all about that good stuff. So I do have a YouTube channel, and I really hope to get that up and running and off the ground. With this video will be on YouTube, okay? And with other interviews and podcasts and all of that good stuff. So let's connect on YouTube as well, because that's going to be pretty big for me and a big effort for me in 2024. All right, thanks for reminding me. I forget all these things.
Yeah.
So why are we here today? We are here to talk about a buyer's needs analysis and why we conducted, how we conducted, what's the purpose, and really for us to be able to understand it a little bit better. So if I was to tell you three things or three purposes of a needs analysis, or why you have to sit down and talk to your clients before you're actually out looking at houses, I would say three things: requirements, preferences, and priorities. We are learning, or we are getting pretty well versed with those three things in our very first, second, and third conversation. Sometimes it's going to take more than one conversation to understand what the specific requirements are from the buyer, because we are literally working for the buyer when we get into a relationship. We're not just finding a house. We're not just opening doors. We actually are understanding what they need, what they prefer, and what their priorities are. And we have to do this through Q&A, right? Through questions, through listening. Okay, that's going to be the most important thing that we ever do when conducting our buyer's needs analysis. I have one question. I'm going to give you guys a link to this presentation so you don't have to write down every question. I put about 20 to 30 questions, so don't try to write all these down. I have one question that I ask first. One question. Y'all ready? This is the one you have to write down. This one is not in the slide. This is like my bonus, end all be all. Like, we don't even have to talk anymore if you ask this question, right? I ask anybody that I sit down with, what have you done so far to get this process started? So what have you done what have you done so far to get this process started? And then I just be quiet. Because what they're going to do, they're going to be able to tell you if they've talked to a lender. They're going to be able to tell you if they've talked to another real estate agent. They're going to tell you if their credit is bad, if they have 5 kids, if they moved 4 times in the last 6 months. They are going to give you all kinds of information just based off of that question. They're going to tell you what went well, what went bad. They're going to tell you what worked, what didn't work. They're going to tell you if they've been at open houses or if they went into that new construction home without an agent. And they, they're going to tell you if they signed an agency agreement, but they didn't like that agent anymore. They're going to open up to you off of that one question. And again, what have you done this far? What have you done so far to get this process started? Then you aren't just going to take a look at your piece of paper where you have like maybe questions that you ask, or if you create a, like if you print this presentation out or make little flashcards with this presentation, you aren't going to just start asking questions. You had to have listened to what they said and then guide your next few questions or the next conversation based upon what they said. Okay, so they may have mentioned location. They may have mentioned property features. They may have mentioned the budget. They may have mentioned the timeline. So you're going to focus on what they say. And then you are going to tailor your questions or your services based upon meeting their needs, ensuring that you are efficient, and making sure that you ask the right questions. All right. So let's take a look at, I'm going to skip around because I have a lot of questions here. What I did in this presentation and with these little flashcards that I made for you guys is I basically wrote out a question. I detailed what you're looking for with this question. And also, we're going to talk about why these questions are important, why these questions are important. So first of all, location. We generally ask about neighborhoods or areas. In Baltimore, I used to could just ask for a zip code, right? Baltimore is a little different than Charlotte and North Carolina. Here, we're asking for neighborhoods, developments, communities, right? And you're asking that so that you kind of know if they already have been looking or if there's any important schools, even their jobs, or maybe even some amenities that they're looking for. So new construction, I'm going to use new construction a lot in this conversation, but in new construction, we're asking about location preferences because we can find new construction faster, right? Sometimes, or we visited new construction properties in our downtime. Did y'all hear that hint? We visited new construction properties in our downtime, so we kind of know where they are, what they look like, and we know about the amenities already. The other reason we visit new home construction is because I don't know if y'all get social media content, but you can actually walk through a house, record, film, do whatever you want to do, take pictures, but you can get a lot of social media content in there. So I always mention visiting new home construction because that's where I tell agents to get their content from. Even if you're not working with a buyer right now, it looks like you're working with a buyer if you're in a house taking pictures and making videos, okay? So you can fool the public to think that you have tons of clients and that you're always out looking at houses just by stopping in new home communities, all right? That's a little tip. I get off track sometimes, y'all bear with me. I normally get off track giving a good tip, so don't worry.
That's a great tip. I've been telling them about hitting up new construction. It's really good right now.
Yes, yes, yes. And there's so many of them. So you guys have options, right? And if you want to work in a certain area, while we're talking about location preferences, if you want to be the queen of Lake Norman, then you want to be in all the new home construction offices and properties in Lake Norman, because that's where you want to work. So I do have a saying to manifest that. Y'all know what the last word is, right? So if you want to manifest where you want to work at, start visiting, start, being the queen of, okay? And that will get you familiar with the location, and then that will get you knowledge about the location as well. So when a buyer does come and say, I want to work I want to live in Lake Norman. You already know about Lake Norman. So it kind of helps you, especially if you're competing for that client. All right. But one of the most important things about commute, you're going to be worrying about, one thing about location, you're going to be worrying about commuting and schools and amenities. Okay. Let's look at another question. Let's get property type. Let's look at budget. How do we find out the budget? Well, we tend to send our clients to a lender, right? And some agents wait until the client talks to the lender. But before that client goes to the lender, one of the questions is to get information from the buyer about money, right? About their budget. What I generally ask here, this is a question, I put it on the screen, but what I generally ask here is, what is your ideal monthly payment? What does your ideal monthly payment look like? Or I ask them, what are they paying right now? Oh, that's a good one. What are you paying right now? I got a story for that one. I had a buyer come and say they were paying $700 a month for rent. Oh, wow. They were looking at a $300,000 or $400,000 property, and I'm like, "Oh, girl, that's not going to be the same thing that you're going to be paying at that property, right?" So I always ask them, "What are you paying now, and what do you want to pay?" And that way, once we get into, the houses that they like, or they start sending me example properties, then I know, oh my goodness, if they paying 700 now, they're not gonna pay 2,000, or or can they pay 2,000? Or I need to have this conversation with them, after or while we are in this needs analysis. I also have to report that to the lender. Okay.
Then you could say, well, that's great. Do you have a lot of money to put down? Do you have a
Right.
big down payment?
Well, shoot, what kind of down payment is that going to be? Shit. Think about
I
three.
know. I mean, I'm just saying, you got a 50% down payment.
Woo, woo. Yeah, you got to ask a bunch of questions. So yeah, I actually had that recently. Probably it was last year, in the beginning of last year. The buyer told me she was paying 700 for rent, and I'm like, oh, you might want to stay where you are, because I told her she was going to go into culture shock. Basically, that was the word I created. But you're going to go into shock knowing what these mortgages are. So I told her I'm going to have her talk to a lender. I didn't shoot her down, or I wasn't negative about it. I kind of made it light and funny. But I never told her, girl, listen, I didn't tell her that. I actually waited till she got to the lender, but I gave the lender a heads up. I didn't just send it to the lender. I gave the lender a heads up, like, find out if this girl got some money, find out how much she makes. Cause if she's making 50,000 a month and only paying 700, then it's different. But I didn't want to get into that entire story. But in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, we need to know how much money this lady has before we go out and start shopping. All right, what about timeline? What is the ideal timeline for moving? Is there a lease? Is there any restrictions? Is there a deadline? Is there any event? Like, is somebody getting married, or are the kids moving from a middle school to a high school? So when you're asking about timeline during the home search, what is influencing the timeline is also what you want to know. Not just when do you want to move? No. We got to know. If it's about schools, then we have to be moved during the summertime, right? After school ends, but before the new school year begins is probably the ideal time. Even if they say, well, we're going to move in September. Well, school starts about August 15th. I'm just making up a date. School starts August 15th. So would you like to be in your home before school starts? So that's going to, continue with a conversation. Not just when do you want to move. Find out what is influencing, or what events or deadlines they have. Like, leases are generally deadlines. So if somebody lease ends on February the 1st, I generally want to be out looking at houses right at the end of November and December, because I want the buyer to be able to move in January and get settled in and have time, or not to do that move out one and move in one that same day. I hate those timelines when buyers are doing that. It scares me half to death when they have to move the same day as closing or move it in and out the same day. So I try to make sure I find out what events, deadlines, or what is actually influencing a timeline, not just the timeline. Then we have deal breakers. Ooh. What is a deal breaker? That's really important. Like, let's go back to the school scenario or the lease. No, the lease ending one is a really good one when it comes to deal breakers and must before we get into any other characteristics and features. So when somebody tells me that their lease ends on February 1st, and we're in December, we didn't find anything. We are now in December, we know they had to tell their landlord what's up. Like, are we moving in? Are you moving out? Or, have you found anything? Are we breaking this lease? I'm not renewing. We know that timeline is about 60 days prior to the move out date. So now that we haven't found anything and we are 30 days away, what is going to happen? Like, are you going to sign a new lease? Are you going to go month to month? So we need to tap back into that conversation, because not finding something by a specific time could also be a deal breaker. Okay, because people will get scared. So we have to, this is a continuous talk, by the way. The needs analysis and all of these questions are not going to be just asked and answered on our first conversation. We may have to pick back up in these conversations time and time again, especially when we get to the must-haves and the deal breakers. What happens here, like somebody says they want a white kitchen, they want white kitchen cabinets and they want stainless steel. And we find the perfect house, but that kitchen is gray instead of white. So is that feature or is that characteristic a deal breaker? Now that we've seen it, or even before we go see it, oh my goodness, if you were a real estate agent a couple of years ago and there were 50 showings on the first day, then we had to go see the houses that we needed to see, not the ones that were just on the list, but we had to go and see the ones that had the features and the characteristics that were really essential to the buyer first. And then we can go see some that kind of meet the criteria, but don't meet the criteria all the way. So it's kind of important for you guys to make a list and have the buyer to make a list. What is a deal breaker? What is a must? What is this? I want this, but I must have this. And if I don't get this, then I'm not doing the deal. Like, literally have these conversations, because knowing this is going to be critical to you and your preview. Like when you're in the MLS, when you are searching and looking at the photos of the houses that you're scheduling, you're going to want to take a look for these. You are the auditor before you actually go out. Sheena?
And yeah, I just wanted to add to what Nakia is saying is, you're making your must list and your deal breaker list, but always tell them that you help with new construction and FSBOs. Even if they say, I'm not doing new construction. I don't know how many times I've had people say that, but financially, when they start figuring out what their payment is and down payment, they start saying, oh, maybe I can do new construction for 1 year, 2 years, because of the help with the closing cost, down payment, the affordability of new construction. Mm-hmm. So just make sure you're always making people aware, even if they say that is not what they want, because in their journey, they might just get a little curious after seeing a group of homes and be like, oh, I just popped into a new construction neighborhood and I didn't know you helped with that. And I went ahead and signed a contract because, you know what I'm saying? You don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah.
So just bringing that up.
Yeah. And on one of these slides, we're going to talk about that setting expectations. No, you're good. You're good. Because that means we're on the same page, because you didn't see that. What happens is you are always going to set expectations. I wanted to preview some of these questions first before I get into that conversation, just to kind of show you guys what you guys are asking. But we're going to jump into that setting expectations. We also do have a little bit of presenting when we are asking these questions and when we are conducting the needs analysis. So with financing, we just basically want to say, show me the money. Like, where is your money coming from? Have you spoken to a lender? Did you get pre-approved? Do you have cash? Do you have money under the mattress? Where is your money right now? Are key questions. Like, before you send them over to the lender. I just talked to a real estate agent who was joining or got a real estate license, and she's joining my network. She told me she don't use credit cards and she don't use banks. So, ma'am, what are you doing in life? I won't get into that, but I don't understand how life functions without a couple of those things or those two things. Like, where is your money coming from and how do you get it and where do you store it? That is a really important question that lenders need to know and can make or break loan applications. So not just financing and did we get pre-approved, but where is your money? Like, where is your money coming from? Some people, I think maybe even Sheena, I don't know if it was you or Victoria. Victoria said that sometimes the parents are financing their children's home loan. You know, they are buying their kids' homes or they're giving them the down payments. So we need to know that up front, and lenders need to know that up front, because that is going to be very important information as to what type of loan they're getting and, you know, how they are, what type of paperwork is going to be needed to show that money during this process. So not just have you been pre-approved, but finding out where their money is right now is really important. So we gathered those details. We got some responses. We use those things to create a better home buying experience. But what's next? Like, what else can we do to make sure? So I wanted to definitely talk about setting expectations, right? So we have this information, but we also have to explain the process of buying a home. And I want to go to a slide that's going to show you guys the process. And don't worry, I'm giving you all these questions. Some of them repeat, they just kind of say it in a different way. Oh, here's one. Let me go back to that one before I get to the process. We didn't talk about communicating. That is really important in your needs analysis. That is very important to setting expectations. How does the buyer want to be communicated with? Do they like you to call them? Do they like you to email them? Do they only want text messages? Do they work a job where they can't just jump on the telephone? So they need text messages. These things are really important, because throughout the process, we know that there's a lot of back and forward, like a lot of backwards and forwards, a lot of communicating, right? So we should get instructions. I always tell buyers, you're the boss, I'm the coach, but you're the boss. You're going to tell me what you like. You're going to tell me what you want to do, but then I'm going to make the executive decision if that flows with the process, okay? So asking them how do they want to be communicated with is going to be really, really important. Also, finding out if they've been to that new home construction. Here is where Sheena was talking. Have you been to an open house? Have you been out doing this thing alone? And so now I can't even be considered as your partner, as your agent. That is one of the big questions we want to find out. And actually, I'm having this conversation now, but I'm actually doing this. I actually have a listing coming up. We talked on the phone, and she's selling a house, but she's also buying a house. So I mentioned that, okay, I know you, or she mentioned that she went out to see new construction. So I'm like, okay, did you sign anything? What happened? She didn't sign anything. She didn't like the one she went to. So I told her, listen, when you go to open houses or new home construction, you need to tell the people, I just said the people, really it's agents or the representative, that you are working with the agent, and here is your agent's information. That's my business card. You can't see it because I got a little blur, but take my business card. There's 8 business cards right here. I am mailing these to my client. take my business card and be sure to tell the person that's there that you have an agent. Okay. I'm also sending them this lovely little brochure, questions and answers on working with real estate agents, because that's part of the law and all of our agency requirements and that kind of good stuff. But I am putting this in the mail right now to my client that I spoke to on Sunday. So it's, what is it, Wednesday? Because I don't want her to make any mistakes, okay? I want to be her agent, whether she's going to an open house or going to new construction. So I said that loud and clear, and I'm also sending her something that will help. So if you're meeting a buyer in person, give them a couple cards. It's her and her husband. That's why I have 8. I'm not really an overkill, but it's her and her husband. I want both of them, 4 and 4. You take 4, and make sure that you guys are telling the agents that you already have an agent. Okay. So that is part of setting up expectations as well. Let's see. I had something important. What about questions that you have to ask once you are in a transaction? I wanted to talk about that a little bit too. Things get heated, things go awry sometimes in transactions. So sometimes you will need questions that will calm things down, that you can bring the emotions back down to a calm level. So sometimes we have to problem solve also. So I've given you guys some problem solving questions that will help you to navigate challenges. So one of the challenges that you may get into is, again, we talked about the communication. If for any reason clients fire agents based on communication alone, that's why that question up front is really important, so that you tailor and you make notes. If you don't have a notebook, I have a composition notebook. I have everything. I'm basically almost transcribing a conversation when I'm talking to buyers and sellers. Okay. I have pages and pages of notes based upon what they tell me, and communication style is one of the key answers that you want to make sure you make a note of, because they will literally terminate a transaction because you didn't call them and that you sent them a text instead of calling them. So make sure that the communication has been agreed to by both of you. Okay. This is the one I wanted to talk about, because this is a really good tip. Understanding the process. You get into the process. When we talk first to buyers, they don't hear anything we say. Okay. And that's why sometimes you got to follow it up with an envelope in the mail, or you have to follow up with another conversation or a pretty little graphic. Okay. They hear us, but they're really not hearing us. All they want to do is get pre-approved or know that their credit score is good enough to get a loan. So they didn't really hear you. So you'll get into the process and then they'll be lost. Okay. They will be confused. Confusion scares away the money. I always say that. Confusion scares away the money. So I always like to make sure that in consultations or throughout the process, the buyer has a roadmap, has a map of where we are in this process, or what's first, what's second, what's third, or where are we now? What are we doing now? Or what we finished this, so now we move to this. I usually use a wheel, or I use a like a map, like there's a little map, and then there's, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You can use a list. Sometimes lenders have co-marketing materials, and they already have this stuff done for you. Our EXP Marketing Center has this for you as well. But you want to have a buyer's roadmap, because buyers will get confused and will get lost. And this will provide a little bit of clarity when you're not talking to them or not speaking, but sometimes you'll have to refer back to it. All right. So if you don't already have like a buying process roadmap, that's going to be something that you want to get a hold of and make sure that the buyer has in their hand. You can email it to them or you can hand it off to them, but it's going to be something that's really good. And it'll cut back on some questions as well. But it also encourages them to keep track of the process. All right. My next question, timeline again. Timeline came up because timeline is also one of those make or breaks in deals. So you want to make sure that if you're getting concerned, or if the buyer is getting concerned about the timeline, that you address it quickly, and that either you have to reevaluate where things are going, or they may can't find a resale property. Now they got to get new home construction, or they may can't wait for the new home to be constructed. So they need to go in and look at the inventory that's ready to move in now. So timeline is key, and knowing and having options to support their timeline is going to be really key. All right. I have probably one or two more. Negotiations. Woo! That is where everybody gets into their emotions and where agents get into trouble. So talking through the concerns of your buyer during negotiation, and going back to your notes that you wrote down when you asked those questions in the beginning, is going to be key. But also de-escalating during negotiations. Sometimes you have to have the buyer put the seller's shoes on, right? Sometimes you'll have to talk about collaboration, right? We are our team. We are all trying to get to the finish line. Where are your concerns? Like, what is stopping you from moving forward, or why don't you agree? So you have to have some questions that will also de-escalate during negotiations, because everybody wants what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. But really, buying a house is really all about negotiating. All right. So you want to make sure that you have some really good questions and really good notes about the concerns of the buyer and the specifications, the specifics of what they asked for, what they said, what were the deal breakers. So now when we get into negotiation, we got to refer back to those notes again. And that's why these are in this section, because they're like follow-up questions, or they are, let's go back to what you said on January the 2nd. Like, let's take a look at that. So sometimes you will, in real estate, you can guarantee yourself you are going to have a de-escalation conversation, and you will need to have really good questions that really tells the buyers that you are just really worried about what they want, what they need. And again, we're going to go back to that. What were your requirements? What were your preferences? And what were your priorities? Okay. You will have to pull that card during negotiations. All right. So make sure you keep that handy. The home inspection kind of draws a little bit of emotional concerns, and maybe this is not my house, and oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to spend a lot of money. I was in this apartment and they fixed everything. So inspection, really having some good questions and really showing that you are really concerned about what the buyer's worries are during the inspection process is going to be important too. So that's why I included an inspection question as well. I wanted to just give you a follow-up question. This is what you're going to say. This is how you reassure that your buyer, this is how you reinforce the buyer that you've taken all of their needs and concerns into consideration, and that you are just really here for them. So you tell them, I'm addressing your concerns proactively. I've asked you these questions because I want to be proactive in addressing your concerns. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be supportive with you. You don't have any worries. You just want to reassure them that you are their partner in this home buying process. You are here for them, and you want to make sure that this is the smoothest, easiest, even though it's not easy, transaction that they will go through. And it's because of you, and because that you took time to sit down to figure out their needs and their wants and their preferences, their priorities, right? Their desires. You took time to figure out all of that so that you can be proactive in helping them get to the finish line, which is the closing table, smoothly, fast, and effectively. All right, how was that, Sheena? Did you get some good questions?
Oh, hey, No, I thought that was awesome. I wanted to maybe bring up, why do we want to do this needs analysis? Why would it be important for your client and you to thoroughly ask all these questions before you go out driving all over town? And I always explain it to the buyer as, I don't want to take you out to homes and get you excited when we haven't even figured out what homes fit you, or what your monthly payment you can afford, down payment, or what kind of, if you can compete in a multiple offer scenario. But then also just, you don't, as I'm sure you guys have a lot of things going on in your life, and you don't want to spend all day driving around for somebody when you don't really have it filtered down to what they can afford and what houses would be a good fit for them. So just doing a thorough, what Nakia is talking about, doing this very thoroughly helps your client not get their hopes up, but also helps you not waste your time.
Yeah. Yeah, because time is of the essence. With buyers agents, I tell them to pretend to pay yourself a salary. Okay, imagine just paying yourself $100 an hour. Let's just start right there, $100 an hour, and you need to get to the closing table to pay that paycheck, right? So we would love to turn that $100 an hour into $500 an hour, right? So that's why we start with these needs and these needs analysis and finding all of the information up front, so that when we get started and we really dive into spending time and spending our time out with buyers, that we are being paid more per hour versus less per hour.
Well, and then if you think about it, you getting really good at narrowing it down for these buyers helps you to have more time to spend with another buyer, or make more business, or more time with your family. And that's just, being the most productive with your own time. And then the other thing I was maybe wanting to bring up was, some buyers are good for they can compete in a multiple offer situation, like these hot properties that come on, that after you show it to them, they're like, but the sellers or the listing agent already says, oh, we already got 5 offers. Well, right then what kind of buyer you have, if they could even hold a stick in that sort of situation, and maybe pre-talking to them about how this market is. And you might go to one house and might be multiple offers, and it might go to one house and not be multiple offers because it's a little overpriced and it's been on the market for a little bit. So what kind of buyer do you have? Do you have somebody that's prepared to go into those situations and win? Or do you have somebody that needs some financial help, and maybe you need to go after the homes that's been on the market for 2 weeks already and get more of what you need?
Yeah, and this information that we're collecting and having that conversation is also direct communication with the lender as well. So a lot of this information will need to be handed over to our lenders. All right. So make sure that you're taking notes, and sometimes make sure, ask the buyer, is it okay if I take notes? If you're sitting right there with them, just tell them that you're taking notes. It's they're never going to say no, but it kind of tells them that you are taking this serious and that you're writing it down so you can remember and so that you can keep it at the forefront. But make sure that this information, sometimes I just take a picture of my note, my whole note, and I just text it right on over to the lender. I've done that several occasions. My lenders know my handwriting. They know that they're about to get all this stuff, some of the stuff they didn't even need, but they have it because the information goes hand in hand. Like Sheena said, if we're out and we know we have to compete, this buyer needs to be ready. I need to be ready. We need to be ready to write an offer and to go, go, go. Or we know that this may not be the right one. If that buyer takes 5 days, excuse me, to decide if they want to put an offer in, then no, we're not going to look at the houses with 20 offers, or we know we have to just tell them time is of the essence. So we also have to have that conversation. Time is of the essence. We can't take 5 days this time to decide because they are already getting offers. So a lot of work is done before you go out to look at houses. That's what's important for agents to know. A lot of work is just done before you're actually looking at houses. And the people that do the work before they go to look at houses, they get to the finish line a little bit faster and a little bit easier.
And if the lender is not somebody that you're familiar with, like Aaron, make sure you call that person's lender and make sure they're a good, legit person, because you're taking these people's money and you're going to help them get a house, and they may lose money if whatever lender they're working with, they think is a great lender, but they don't really know what a great lender is, So just make sure you're making sure that's a legit person. You got their pre-approval letter, that you're starting to have a relationship a little bit with that lender, because y'all are going to be in it for 30 days. And you don't want somebody to put $5,000, like $10,000 up for due diligence. And, and then 10 days into it, 15 days into it, the lender, oh, I didn't really, pull their taxes or something like that. And then these people lose that kind of money, because, that's a big deal to a lot of families. So you're there to protect them in that particular situation as well. But Nakia, thank you so much. I appreciate
I got a question for her.
Okay.
So through all this process, do you do a lot of this like over the phone, or is it face to face? Do you recommend trying to get this information face to face? A lot of times it is over the phone, and I feel like on the other end they get antsy.
Well, what I have done is I have built a system or a process that I meet all my buyers via Zoom. At least I may do one phone call, but I try to do this Q&A through Zoom. And I do it like that because I want to read their body language and I want to see how they are reacting to me. And they'll also, once they're looking at you and getting more comfortable with you, they tend to answer just a little bit better as well. So I've been through the COVID. We didn't have a choice but to talk via Zoom. So I just kept that system and I do all my consultations, even with sellers. I do my first consultation is the first phone call, then I set up a Zoom, and then we go into a little bit of in-depth on Zoom. And it's just only because I want to see body language first. And I want to make sure this is a real person. So safety comes into play here as well with buyers. Now, I don't do 5 buyers a week. I do maybe 1 a month. So that system works for me. But if it's not working for you, if people say, well, I need you to meet me here, or I need you to come here, think about it and have your processes ready, or be able to set the expectation on that phone call. Tell the buyer that this is your system. This is what you do. Most of the time, if you explain to them, this is a safety thing. I want to make sure you are who you are. I want you to make sure I am who I am. It's for both of our safety. They don't mind. Yeah, they don't mind. But I use Zoom. I answer. And I
never thought about Zooming.
Yeah, I don't get in my car unless I've seen you on Zoom and we've talked like this.
Well,
that's good. I like that.
Other thing is if you guys have taken that personality,
I'm so sorry, I have to run. I totally lost track of time and I have a 10 o'clock.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
you so much.
What is the name of the personality test? I'm drawing a blank right now.
I use Instagram, but you're talking about DISC probably.
DISC personality test. If you haven't done it, you need to do it for yourself. And there's also a way to recognize a buyer or seller's personality type. So if you have somebody you're on the phone with and you could feel that the phone conversation is comfortable for them. But if you feel like they're squirrely and you're not getting that trusting feeling, you need to get in front of them. They need to see you face to face, see you're a real human. But then, some buyer sellers need you to explain every little detail. That's your high C's, and some of them they only want to know what they need to do next, and they don't want to hear about anything other than that. So I think just knowing who you're talking to by learning personality types about yourself and about your buyers and sellers will help you with that question.
Right on.
Yeah. Sheena, also there's besides this, there's something called Enneagram. I'm putting it in the chat box. Take a look
Okay,
at that one
cool.
too, because that one's free. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to pay for those disc tests, but this is really good. I use this, and maybe if you guys do a team day or team activity day, you guys take that and then share your results. And what I did the last time I did this as a team, we kind of matched up personalities because they give you numbers instead of the DISC. And they kind of they tell you all about yourself, like generally just from
So interesting. I
yeah.
love it. I'm a nerd like that.
Yeah, but that's another one. So save that one. And we'll find another one that's very similar, but that Enneagram, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm not sure.
And I wanted to say Victoria came on today. If y'all hadn't had a chance to meet her, she's our sister in the triad. And if you need help with, if you have a buyer seller up in that area and you need to refer, she'll make sure they're taken care of. If y'all, all of us, if we're in like these referral groups and you see an opportunity for Nakia, you see an opportunity for Victoria, they see one for us, tag each other's names. Let's help each other get referral business.
Yeah.
And I think Nakia knows a lot of people in the around, like she lives in Charlotte currently, but heading back to Mooresville soon. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And she's got a lot of connections in Baltimore.
Yes, Baltimore, Maryland, DC, Virginia. Yeah, I have a big my largest portion of my team is in Baltimore and DC.
Cool. Does anybody have any questions or anything else to add, or they just want to say just in general? I know we're like 9 minutes over.
Victoria, I thought you were about to say something.
I was just gonna say if you guys need disclosures or anything in the triad too, because I know we border. I'll say I help Angie in the triad. If she's got someone she's not gonna refer out, I will set showings and stuff like that for you guys too. So if you need anything, let me know.
These are our sisters from
You too, girl.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it, y'all. Thanks for coming on. I hope you learned something. Thank you so much, Nakia, for taking the time to put all that together.
I will mention for Nakia too that she just produced a whole new journal for daily accountability and everything. So I'll throw that out there for you, Nakia. But I got one and Kayla's got one now. So Victoria's got one.
Victoria, hold on. Where did mine go? I have it too somewhere. Oh, and then Victoria's already trying to turn in her shopping coupons with me. And
well, I'm using my pens. These are actually really good pens. I'm a pen whore.
I know, they are nice.
Oh, thank you. So what I did is I put together a productivity journal because real estate agents wake up every single day and they really just don't know what to do, even though you kind of know, but a checklist works. And also so that you can track what you're doing because monthly or quarterly, you need to track or you need to take a look back at what you did, see if it's working and what wasn't working, and also remind yourself what I need to do more or what I need to do less of. Okay. So I did a journal. If anybody wants to buy the journal, if they go to NakiaEvans.com or that Moving with Nakia that you guys see on the screen.com, it's right there. I think it's the second tab. Also, if you go there, you are going to see, thank you, Kayla. You're going to see that I'm going to be doing KV Core kind of sessions just like this, but more so getting your questions, your needs, and working through some things, maybe demoing. We're going to do hands-on Fridays at 9 o'clock. So you can go to NakiaEvans.com or movingwithnakia.com and register for that. It is free, 100% free to you. Someone is paying for us to have that.
Strictly on KV Core?
Yeah, yep. Only KV Core on Fridays at 9. Yep.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Stop in, ask questions, register for it, even if you're not going to come every single week. So that way it'll be on your calendar. And when you can attend, you attend. It should be a different topic. So I'm going to present and answer questions and demo. Yes, ma'am, Victoria.
Can I give that to people outside of this and like
Yeah.
outside of our
Yeah.
umbrella?
Yeah.
Are these what you were putting what am I trying to say? They were on our group thread. Is this the same class? Or are you doing those live in Winston? Are you coming?
No. So we're still gonna be live in Winston also. So we're gonna do a
Okay.
boot camp in Winston-Salem. I'm waiting for a date. Let me see if they answer while I have you guys on the phone because you will know first. They didn't answer yet. Nope, she didn't answer yet. I gave her our dates, but we are also going to do a live
Okay.
camp for KB Core. It just so happened that KB Core came up in Winston-Salem, but then it came up in Charlotte as well.
Yeah.
So I do some coaching and a leader paid for me to do these coachings. And since I'm doing it, he said we could open it to whomever gets on the call because he's already paid for it. So it makes sense.
Okay, that's cool.
Sweet. Thank you. Yeah.
so much.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it's all about, ladies. Just, collaborating with, all the people we can in our EXP sphere here and creating relationships. We all can help each other together and we're all good at different things.
Yeah,
So,
and Kayla and Nicole, I'll get a testimonial from you guys for the journal, or if you want to text me or send me a testimonial, I will feature you on my social media with a testimonial about the journal as well, because I got to get the word out. Thank you for reminding me, Nicole.
I have a featured guest that would like to come in and say hello.
Is that my
Hello,
friend?
ladies.
Hey,
Hello.
What's up,
Ain't seen you in a
Jeremy?
while.
Jeremy is also one of my first friends and helped me with my event.
Yeah, we set the alarm off, didn't we, baby? We set
Yes.
the alarm off.
You're not supposed to tell everybody about that. We evacuated a whole hotel. Don't ask questions. Just come to the next event. We're gonna have another retreat soon coming up, and Jeremy provided all of the DJ equipment and music and taught me how to be a DJ for the event.
And the after party, which we won't talk about too.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's definitely invited to the next one.
Yeah, I'll be looking for that when Winston-Salem. I would love to do a live KB Core with y'all.
Okay, I'll get the date. Oh, well, Sheena will know about the date really quickly. As soon as they tell me, I got to tell her because she's coming back as a guest speaker again, I'm sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
She'll be a pro at it.
Yes,
No,
she
I've got a
will.
long
It's up
ways
to
to go,
me.
y'all, but I'm working on it.
We have a whole team. We already Victoria's looking for the tour bus now.
We'll
I've
pick
got
her up on
dealer
the way.
connections. I'll find it.
All right.
All right, ladies. Well, y'all have a good day, and I'll have the recording. There was 2 girls that couldn't come that wanted to know if they could get the recording.
Yeah.
So I think you started recording on this Zoom. Is that right?
Yeah. And
Okay.
we did it twice. So I'll send you whatever pops up on my screen when we hang up.
Okay.
Okay.
Y'all have a good day. Thank
Hey,
you.
I got one more
Thanks
thing
for
before we
coming,
leave.
Nakia and Victoria.
All right.
Heather.
One more thing. I gotta go.
Something. Or
I
somebody.
gotta go back on the market with my farm property that's off State Park Road. So I'm gonna share that today. If y'all could boost that for me, Victoria, Nakia, go ahead and boost it too if you want to. But we're back on the market with that big property on State Park Road.
Mhm.
Is that
'Cause
the
you
one
can't
I showed,
separate it?
Heather?
No, that is that one's already under contract on Rupert Road, but I have one on
Okay.
State Park Road that's it's actually on the MLS under Sunny Bray. It's like a compound, but it's got like a barn and an arena and 3 different houses on it. It's a family trying to all sell together. It's a little tricky, but we have lenders that can do it, and Erin can do it. I spoke to her; she can do lending on the property. So we're
How
gonna.
much land is with it?
It's almost 10 acres. It's like 9.7, I believe.
What's the price point?
It's
3
at
houses.
1.25 right now.
How much?
1.25.
Well, it's 3 houses. So if you got
Yeah.
a couple people that want to go in together, it's 3 houses and a lot
It's
that
huge barn
that you
stalls.
could build a new house. So really it could be 4 houses. And it's on the way to State Park Road in Troutman, which is like one of the hottest roads
Yeah.
to live on.
I have buyers who want like a compound. I just don't